All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another studio visit. My name is Kat Singer. I'm the guest curator for Uncommon Threads, a group curated exhibition that's part of Being Seen 2023. And today, in this virtual shared studio space, with me is Paulina. And
Hi.
hi. Yeah, I should have asked you beforehand how to pronounce your last name.
Sorry, it's Wiszowata.
Wiszowata.
Yeah.
All right, Paulina Wiszowata, welcome. Uh, and can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Paulina Wiszowata, as Kat has mentioned. My pronouns are she, they. So about myself, right? I am an artist, and I also work as an arts administrator um, by day, but usually it's more afternoon night. I'm not a morning person. That's a little bit more about me. Also, more of my interests include my dog, all forms of physical expression, like questionable tattoos, live shows, gestures, as you will see me gesturing with my hands throughout this. Um, I love to go dancing, especially going dancing with my partner to the goth spots, playing video games, watching people play video games, going to art galleries, of course, but always hoping that there's someone that just like doesn't get an artwork that I can like have that conversation with them. But especially, I love talking to the kids. Kids in art galleries is really fascinating. Um, and yeah, karaoke, love karaoke. But more about like my practice basically. The core of my work is about my self-awareness of existing around art and existing as an artist while navigating in the world as one. So a lot of kind of institutional kind of critique work that I focus on and things of that sort. Basically, I consider myself as a conceptual uh, artist first and foremost with performative tendencies. Yeah, that's me.
Performative tendencies, I love that.
Yeah.
So, sounds like a diagnosis. Uh, so, your piece in the show, oh, wait, no, before your piece in the show, your studio. We are actually in your studio. And
Yeah.
you show us around, describe like where, how you work.
Yes, of course. So actually, well, this is the physical existence of my studio. A lot of stuff kind of goes in my head or my cell phone. I'm so dependent on my cell phone for absorbing content that will inspire the work I produce. As I'm sure majority of people are that way, absorbing content online and doing the things out into the world after. Otherwise, I have a ton of stuff stored, but because I'm working on rug making now, I have this corner of this room, which is shared actually with my partner's son when he visits. Like, he doesn't live here, but it's a spare room. So I was able to take over this corner. He allowed me for me to work on my rugs. And yeah, so I can show you around a little bit. So here is the stretcher. So this is
Mhm.
a tufting frame. And this is a primary tufting cloth, but you can use like usually burlap or other kind of forms of cloth that has like a looser weave um, in it. Is it a weave? No, it's like a. Anyways, um, and yeah, and here you can see there's like lots of yarn. So basically, that's what like kind of like my rugs are made out of is yarn. I mean, most of most rugs are made out of yarn, but anyways, some people use like non-conventional materials, which maybe one day I will explore. Yeah, so this is that. So this is kind of where the magic happens on here. Here are just like my supplies. Here is a lovely table that helps me kind of put things down here, but right now I have some of my art pieces. Kat, can I show some of these?
Of course. Please.
Amazing. So here's like one little dude that actually I think this might have been my first one that I did with my cut pile gun. So there's two kind of kind of rug pile types. There's the loop pile, and then there's the cut pile. The loop one, I have a good smaller one to show. I'll show this little sad little one. So loop pile is like basically, yeah, you're creating like loops with
Hmm.
the yarn, and it's like a continuous strand of yarn. And the cut pile is basically each kind of piece of yarn, or like two pieces of yarn, kind of connect underneath, and kind of just go through, which is what is happening actually right here with these ones. So this is like the backing of the rugs, and on the other side is the fronts. Um, right, so that's that one. Here's another cut pile as well. Um, I mean, you can kind of tell they're like in a bit of a rough shape. So what another thing that kind of happens with rug making, it's called carving, where you use either scissors or a clipper, and you can kind of carve out certain shapes and forms
Hmm.
as such. And that's really fun because it's kind of like more like sculptural, and you could really kind of like play with it, which I love. Here's another one.
Ooh.
It's all playful, all like,
Hmm.
yeah, so this is kind of like what for the show I'm like anticipating to create. So it's like not like one big piece, it's like a series of smaller pieces. Oh, but speaking of big piece, I'll show this like one big one. It's unfinished, but it's fun. Yeah.
Yeah, and you've mentioned before in our conversation about tufting guns. Would
Mhm.
you care to give us a little bit of a demo of like,
Absolutely. And I conveniently already have one loaded up. It's like I'm prepared or something. But actually give me a second because I need to make sure that everything is good to go. Because I mean they are tools, so you know we always still want to be safe with the tools that we handle, right? I just move my chair out of the way. Okay, so let's see how well this is gonna look. Where am I? Okay, we're gonna kind of work on this one here. It's gonna be like a yellow and a purple. So, Kat, how's it looking?
perfect?
Yes. Oh my gosh, I angled this so well. Amazing. Okay. So it makes a bit of a loud noise. So I'm gonna kind of put one row in. Oh, sorry, forgot to put in my scissors. 1 second. So as you saw, I put it in and then I yanked the yarn out. So that's actually the loop pile. I just forgot that you always kind of have to have scissors with you to cut it at the end because it won't do it automatically, unlike the cut pile gun, which totally does that. Oh, what a beautiful line. Look at this yellow line. So it's relatively straightforward. Like once you kind of learn how to handle the tufting gun here, yeah, you kind of have a lot of like control with it, and yeah, Swift to make some really fun rugs. I'm gonna make one more line. Ooh, amazing. How was that?
Oh, it looks like it looks both potentially frustrating and really soothing.
Yeah, it's. I mean, the angle I was standing at is not ideal. Like you kind of want to like firmly kind of hold it in your midsection, so you have that full control. But it came out actually like quite neat, as if it hadn't. And then yeah, I could just if I'm not happy with it, I could always just pull it out like that, and
Mhm.
then just recycle the scraps. Actually, I have a bag of recycled yarn here that I'm hoping to like I don't know turn into mulch and make some wild looking recycled yarn. But that's another project. Yeah. So that's my studio.
Yeah, it's really awesome. So how about your piece in the show? Like, what is it called? Can you give a brief visual description? And we can talk about materials later. I think we know all about the materials. So,
Yes, I
well,
really went into that. Sorry. Okay, cool. So my piece in the show I am talking about now. Okay, so the piece in my show, it's called uh, this is, oh gosh, um, this is very in right now, and it's kind of oh, no, it's not. This is very in right now. Sorry. Um, Textiles are very in right now. That's what the work is called. And it's an expression I kept repeating back in 2018 to my peers, um, because like something about like when artists kind of communicate with each other, it's like they ask that question of like, oh, what are you working on now, or what are you doing now? And then I would just respond with, textiles are very in right now, and kind of go into a thing of how I'm like learning how to do rug hooking and like things like that. But yeah, I noticed this like influx of like textiles, which was really exciting to me, and kind of why I took off with it. But right, back to the actual piece of the show. The piece, as I was showing, is like a series of like these smaller little rugs. Yes, okay, happy little rugs. They're little happy rugs. But the reason, right, the reason why I create them, well, the inspiration of why I create them is essentially this kind of cyclical thing that I fall into of like basically creating art for the sake of art, because that's what the definition of an artist is to create art, and that's my whole kind of shtick. And I know it's like my calling in life and things like that, but um, there's there's these moments in my life where I kind of like get really like hyper focused into something, whether it's like something for like a certain job, or like a certain person, or this musical thing, or like the city. There's always just something that like I kind of absorbed a good chunk of my time and my life into, that it almost feels like I pause art making. And I don't know, I think about this often. It's like, by me existing, is that still making art? Or like, do I still have to kind of put things like make a thing? So this is kind of me doing that. Like, I enjoy doing it. I didn't actually think that I would really be like ever exhibiting these pieces, but they really kind of like reflect that moment of like me realizing that even when I get hyper focused on these things in my life, I always come back to art making. And that's what these kind of basically are. This whole thing of being like hyper focused and stuff made me realize how like in the pandemic we were able to kind of pause and like reflect and things like that, which like kind of right now is my time to pause and reflect after a situation where I just feel like I've like really burnt myself out, like after being hyper focused into a certain thing, right? So it was just so important for like a majority of people like in the pandemic to have that pause, because there was like this weird revolutionary kind of moment where people were quitting their jobs and like going back to doing this thing and that. So that's kind of like where the work, like I realized was coming from within me.
Yeah, I
Does
mean,
that make sense?
that makes absolute sense. And I
Like,
think like the more you're working on this piece, the more it will open up to you. I'm
mhm.
already seeing so many common threads. By the way, I wanna credit you for the exhibition title, because I was telling you that originally the exhibition was gonna be called Common Threads, and then we're like, why common? Why not make it uncommon
Yeah,
and
yes.
have like different kinds of conversation about art? And
Hmm.
I love this like leisurely conversation that we're having right now about like maybe like taking a pause, not putting so much pressure on yourself to produce a specific prescribed thing.
Yeah,
Just being playful too. Play is a big component in so many people's work that I gathered, because I want to have provide this little space for folks to play and explore.
yeah. I love that you're putting that all together, because it's great that it's coming from Workman Arts, because I've been feeling like uh, things have been getting kind of like really serious, and it's one of those moments where it's like maybe this is that moment where we can kind of like let go and enjoy the things in the show. We can touch the artwork and things like that. I'm looking
Hmm.
forward to the whole exhibition and seeing what the other artists are working on as well.
Hmm. So if your pieces had little speech bubbles next to them, like what would you be saying? Like what is the message of your artwork?
They'd be like, "Look at me, I'm cute." Basically, is what they would be saying, and then I'm sitting in the background being like, "Oh, you can sound so much more sophisticated, but who cares? You're you, and that's it." Hopefully that answered your question. Didn't
Hmm.
sound like I was kind of tossing it away, because in a way, it's literally just that, because like I strive to have them look so playful, even though it's like with like abstract tendencies. I keep saying tendencies, but like more like formal painting abstractions, because that's kind of where I pull like forms and colors from, is through like the language of painting. um but for me, it's like the rugs are just that more like playful, more opportunity to, yeah, like we were saying, pausing. So that's probably why their speech bubble would just be like, "Hey, I'm cute.
Hmm.
You can play with me." Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. It's like it's an invitation, like, like look
Yeah.
at me, touch me, play with me. And, sometimes like I yearn for things to be simpler in life,
Hmm.
where, like what you say is what you get and
Yeah,
that sort of thing.
totally.
Yeah, so uh this question now, like, is there anything going on in your life that's kind of like impacting how this like that's shaping this piece as it's being created?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, like I've been like burnt out for quite a bit of time. Like, you know how I was saying, like my hyper fixation on this like certain moments in my life, where I kind of like, it's almost like a change, not change my persona, but it's like add to my persona. Anyways, so right now, yeah, I'm just kind of beginning to learn how to live without burnout, essentially. So that's, I guess, the next step in my life, and kind of focusing on creating things that bring me joy. Um, but at the same time, it just feels like I'm living in a void. Like, it's, that like guilt of
Hmm.
not doing more, like getting back into that grind kind of thing also exists there. So that's why I keep calling it like a void, because you're just kind of like floating and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, I also want to dive, like, go back in time and dive deeper. Like, how did you start working with textiles, and what do you like about this particular medium?
Other than they're cute and soft, well, I had actually started off basically really focused on like paint on canvas, like capital P painting. Um, but I would always be like pushing the boundaries of what painting is. So I would never say I was making images. I was like kind of making more of like objects in these like art spaces, just to get us to like questioning what an art object is, and like what it means to be like in this particular space that has like all these hierarchies and things like that. But I digress. So I kind of started stepping away from painting, because what happened is I kind of got tired of like the mediums and tools.
Hmm.
Um, like I think I like reached that like peak where I felt um, done with the conversation of painting, but at the same time, I still love that concept, especially when it like coincides with the history of capital A art. Um, but I really began to notice how textiles reframe how we perceive art as images and objects. So this is how I kind of caught onto the rise of the rug making trend the past recent years. Um, yeah, this is like just a lot of like I know it's so much like content absorption from Instagram. There's so many lovely like rug makers out there or artists using rugs. They're both the same. To kind of express themselves and like yeah, do that particular kind of grind. Um, and yeah, the materials of like the yarn and the tools really intrigued me, especially when it can like turn into these like more playful, approachable objects. Because like with painting, it just started to feel like really rather distant and intimidating because it is that like capital V painting, you can't touch the paintings, and it's like has this like this kind of like feeling that well, technically paintings like are the symbols of like cultures in the past and things like that. Um, so that's why for me it's like that's so intimidating and like why perhaps there's people that don't go to like museums or art galleries to absorb that kind of things because it's just like a step like it's so distant but like yeah with rug making I mean rugs in essence it's like they usually hang on the floor. I put these on the wall because I still kind of think of them as paintings. That's a whole other thing. But rugs, like in general, they're just like there to kind of comfort your feet. But also at the same time, I just got this like flashback when my sister and I and her parents' place who had like well carpets. Carpets and rugs are essentially the same thing. I could talk about it if anyone has questions. And we would just like whenever we would go to our parents, we would just end up lying down on the carpet because we kind of like miss that kind of like cushion and that kind of like feeling of support. And like our like obviously when we are over, like our mom would just kind of like take care of us, feed us, etc. So it was like it's making me realize now that it was kind of like that moment of pause and just enjoying just lying down on the carpet and just taking a break kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, growing up in Eastern Europe, we used to have like rugs on walls.
Right. To keep things warm. I mean, it's also aesthetically beautiful. But yeah, it's I think the reason was to keep the room warm, um, which is fascinating.
Well, you know,
Specifically
sound
rugs.
isolation.
Sorry.
Also sound isolation, also a surface for a cat to run on.
Oh my God, please tell me your cat has like run up on like one of like or do you have like a rug or anything? Because I see there's a piece behind you right now, which
Yeah,
looks
no,
lovely.
that is not a rug that a cat can run on, but my
Yeah.
childhood certainly has.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it's
Okay.
interesting, like, you know, if you grew up with, you know, rugs on walls and now
Mhm.
you're putting rugs on walls, but they're completely different. They're like unimaginable to, you know, the you of back then.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fascinating. Especially like I've just always felt like this place because I'm Polish, sorry folks. You might have caught on with the last name, but my heritage is Polish, but I grew up in Canada. And I've always just felt this kind of like displacement with like, you know, the old country. Even though I like have family there, would visit, et cetera, et cetera. But it was almost like this imposter syndrome situation. So, but like clearly I still have that in me. Like I'm putting rugs back on walls for the sake of like comfort and things like that. And like exploration of it.
All right. Well, for I wish that studio visits could go on forever and that, you know, I wish I was in your space right now trying out your guns, but I'm not.
Hmm. Which
Alas.
we should, or maybe we can do a thing in the gallery. Okay, no, now I'm just pushing it. We don't have to. We'll discuss that later. But yeah, if anything, yeah, if the folks watching at home or from wherever you are, um, yeah, want to talk to me about rug making, I'd be more than happy to talk to all of you or anything. Which I'm sure you'll find ways to contact me online and things like that after all this video things go up. But yeah.
All right, perfect. Well, I'm going to wrap this up for our viewers. So, thank you, Paulina, for having me and I guess us, the future
Thank
audience.
you.